welcome everybody to the 2014 retreat. This is the first retreat we've had in 4 years. We did have, at least since I came on in 2006, 3 retreats prior to that, held in different locations, not too far away, and we have had to cancel retreats in the past. But now that we've got a good start to fiscal year 2014, we wanted to go ahead and get into an agenda that is not necessarily as rigid as a council meeting, but certainly provides a guideline. We want to give every department head an opportunity to communicate with the council the issues that they have before them. And of course, there's time, not just at a suggested time of 6:45 tomorrow night, but really throughout the agenda. It's fluid enough. If there are council issues that need to be brought up or anything that is germane to the point or even not germane, this is your retreat. This is a time to really talk and focus and really just think out loud. And having said that, it's not a council meeting, however. There's not necessarily votes taken or any action taken. It's not really the intent and purpose, nor is it the intent and purpose to have it as a public hearing, which is, of course, to solicit input from the public and to get input. The purpose of the retreat is to circulate ideas, to hear what staff says, and to share what council has in response to that, as well as other ideas as well. So that's kind of a preface to what we've got. We generally, at the beginning of all the retreats that we've had in the past, had a financial outlook. And that has been conducted by an auditor in the past. We, at some point along the way, decided to save the money and just do an internal audit outlook. And I have put together something, and of course y'all have received packets that are before you. We have no Wi-Fi at the community center, so rather than bring those tablets and things, we will talk about those as well. We had paper copies for you, and there's ample room to take notes if you have any internal notes that you have for yourselves, or just any other thoughts that are there. And if we do have any other visitors, we welcome our visitor tonight, as well as those listening in around the World Wide Web.
This is streaming? Uh-oh. We got enough place I can't see my ball spot.
We have some packets, some extra packets up at the podium. I didn't make too many. They were copies of color are a little pricey, but I do have extra agendas, and we do have space, for individuals to be able to come. But primarily, the department heads are going to join us tomorrow, and we just have a time to really focus in on financial right now to sort of give you a clear understanding and a picture of where we're at. This is not intended to be a budget workshop on the fiscal year 15 budget. I brought it, if we have questions about it, we can talk about it. But really what I wanted to get out of this, hopefully tonight, was a determination of where we've been financially, where we're going, and what those future trends are, and what potential restrictions we have, and restrictions that you may want to loosen or investigate for further information. So we've encouraged all of this, and of course I tried to get these to you as quickly as I could. The financial presentation's been uploaded to Google Drive now, I guess, for about a week and a half, and it's pretty much unchanged. The retreat main presentation, the finishing touches on it were put together sometime around noon yesterday, but probably 80% of it's been unchanged for about the past week to 2 weeks. The department heads and the mayor and I did go over both presentations last Friday, and we tweaked some things and did some refining. But largely what you see here is very much a group effort. The financial stuff was put together with me and Miss Lisa and Miss Paula's assistants, but the main presentation tomorrow has a whole bunch of hands in it. So, and of course, this is informal. If we have questions or if we have any notification for discussion or anything like that, anything doesn't look quite right, I tried to bring as much source material as I could, but I couldn't bring the whole office. I can pull some stuff tonight after we finish if I need to, but we'll try and answer all those as we get them in. I'm going backwards. Back to forward. Here we go. So really, this is just some introductory language. This is lifted straight from your budget message that is indicated in your fiscal year 14 budget and fiscal year 15. And this language actually has existed since before I came and has been used, I think, in the budgets for the city for about the past 15 years or so. It describes the general fund. It talks about how the general fund is the source of all general government. It's not for profit. It's not a proprietary fund. We fund our administration out of it. We fund our public safety, which is the lion's share of it. We also fund street repair and street work, street lights, everything that's within that, and other departments such as Better Hometown, which sometimes we refer to it as now our downtown program. We make contributions to the Moody Support Committee for the saving of Moody Air Force Base. That's a $1,000 contribution that we make out of the general fund every year. In addition to our Meals on Wheels program that operates out of the community center, the community center budget itself. So just a lot of different things that are there. Here we go. So here's just a broad overview of the revenues within that and how there's some pie charts that are after this that sort of give it more of a graphical representation. But comparatively, fire and EMS and police and judicial comprise about 930,000. Now, of course, we had a special call meeting in May in which we allocated an additional $50,000 to the police department. So that figure for public safety is now closer to $1 million. But these are the budget figures that existed as of August last year and pretty much were unchanged when we adopted it on a preliminary standpoint in September and a final standpoint in October. But we will amend these before the end of the year, so everything will balance out. And here is just a pie chart that you can see of where exactly the money is in proportion to each other. The police department and the fire department, there's that pie. This is about I think I have to go back, but I think it's about $1.5 million or so. Streets is another component of that, and then the goals in the admin, and some other colored pieces as well, parks.
This is the 14 budget.
This is the fiscal year 14 budget. That is correct.
Jonathan, let me
Yes,
ask,
sir.
can we ask questions?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Do we have any source out there that chart right there could be compared with other cities?
Absolutely.
As far as the breakdown, I would be very interested in seeing some comparisons of some other cities regarding how their breakdowns are. Cities our size in the state, and I would just be interested to see how we compare.
And actually, we have a component later on in the presentation tonight where we'll look at some comparative cities of our size and scope with respect to water and sewer fees. But the point that I was going to make in that is that it actually can be applied to every type of.
Yeah, it would be great, because I know that we send these figures into the state, don't we? Aren't these figures, doesn't GMA, don't we send these figures into a central source somewhere?
They do a survey.
Right, we are required by the Georgia state law to submit budgets to the Carl Vinson Institute of Government,
There you
University of Georgia,
Yeah.
and they're actually posted online.
Yeah.
So it's it wouldn't be terribly time consuming, but it is a matter whereby we could.
Yeah, if you could just, there's got to be a way, if you were to pull 15 cities our size in the state, I would just be interested to see how that breakdown compared, and this as well, general fund revenue budget.
How much shows today on Carl Benson?
How that compares.
It's not Carl Benson.
I can tell you.
But it's not Carl Benson Institute, John. What's the name of it?
It's the University of Georgia. Yeah.
I can tell you as far as millage, property taxes and stuff like that, we're lower.
Yeah,
than
understand
a lot.
that.
Yeah.
I'd just like to see how they disperse,
Okay.
other cities disperse their funds,
Certainly.
and where the majority of funds are going, and how it's dispersed, and how we measure up in those areas.
With respect to public safety expenditures, with respect to street expenditures, street lights, which is a huge component of that brown slice of the pie. Admin, and fire as well. Something else to point out, of course, is that just as in every municipality's budget, the largest component of it is personnel and staffing.
Sure.
So that's an important part as well. So our revenues, of course, have to balance with our expenditures. That's required by Georgia state law. And we have a number of revenue sources. Municipalities are different from counties in that, there are a lot of different places that revenue can be recouped. Cities have to be creative in this. But local option sales tax, for the most part, is our largest source of that. Of course, we've had some history with local option sales tax over the past couple of years. If you use our population figures and projections, which Chief Davis will get into tomorrow, we actually are due about a full percent more of the total county pie that we're actually collecting right now. Our current allocated percent for lost is about 1.42%, and if we did it strictly by population, it would actually be around 2.5%. So
That's in litigation right now, still.
well, the Supreme Court overturned a lower court's ruling, which basically stated that all cities must sign certificates by a certain date in order to retain the tax. And because of that, which, I'll even say it with the camera on, that was a gun to everybody's head. Because if we didn't do that, then we would have lost, the biggest piece of our pie to recoup revenue.
But it's still in litigation.
No, we're not started.
Yeah,
I thought it was still.
There was signed the paper last year whenever they.
we are awaiting a remedy from the General Assembly. We are awaiting a remedy from the General Assembly. Now, the latest on that, and of course, Mr. Hanson, the city manager in the Lost is a part, there is a group of city and county leaders that have been appointed among ACCG, the Association of County Commissioners, and GMA. They're supposed to be working their way through to suggest legislation in the upcoming General Assembly session
And that's litigation.
that would fix it. Well,
Yeah, they're trying.
but, we'll just have to see how it goes. But right now, we're locked into the same percentage that we were allocated back in 1990.
So out of every dollar sold at Hahira, we get 1.4%. 1.42%. So this tunnel house coming in, what do you say that his sales tax is going to be? 56,000, I think.
Yeah, it would be 1.42%. Now,
The 56,000, which is not a heck of a lot of money.
and of course, one of the things municipalities are very much concerned with across the state is actual point of sale data. Because if you look at sales tax and where it's generated in the cities, not the unincorporated areas of the county. And of course, the counties contend that they service the entire population, but there are different services that counties provide and the different services that cities provide. When was the last time the county paved a road within the city of Hahira? It was Hagen Bridge. That was 8 years ago.
Yeah, about 9 years.
So
In the city at that time.
it was in the city.
Yeah.
It was in the city.
Instead of county.
Well, the only reason they paved it,
Scrubs. It was a school, wasn't it?
well, no, scrubs.
School.
That was their truck route, and it was full of screws and potholes. And so they got with the county and come up with the paving schedule.
If you were to look at this graph at the end of the year, it's going to look a little bit different. Lost is going to shrink some because I believe our projected budget this year was for something like $450,000. That was more in line with what we thought we were going to get after the settlement. It's actually gonna be somewhere more like 300,000. Now, fines and forfeitures will make up the difference in that. I think we projected around 350,000. Fines and forfeitures is on track to collect 600,000. So those two will offset, for the most part, before the end of the year.
Okay, that, explain that to everybody, because I'm sure that $600,000, about 40% of that goes for add-ons to the state.
About 25%. So, about 25%.
So it's not the total amount.
Right. So general fund performance, this is where we've been. This is historically. When the bubble burst back in 2007, we really had some tough times trying to get back ahead of the curve. And there was some times that we were in the red first starting out. We did turn that trend around. We tightened the budget. And, Ms. Paula and I would meet and we'd get with the department heads and say, guys, we got to get by. And it was often that way for the first couple of years. We've got a little bit more breathing space because of the wise stewardship and, of course, the conservative purchasing nature of the council. So we've been able to turn some profits and turn it around into the black for the subsequent years. However, I'm not comfortable giving you a projection of exactly a surplus. I do feel like we will have a surplus this year. I do think most of that surplus is probably going to be taken with the allocation that we made to the fire department. So when that question was asked back in May, do we have the funds to pay for the fire department? I said yes, because we absolutely do. But as far as turning in a surplus, I'm not sure that it's going to be as comfy as it has been in previous years.
Now, what do you mean by fire department?
When we allocated, when the council allocated $50,000 additional dollars for part-time as needed.
Yeah, I was on it. You did that when I was on.
Right, that was done in mid-May. That's correct. However, we have had a very healthy liquid cash position at the end of every year. And this is something that we're particularly proud of. Whereas, we had a little bit of a dicey time when the economic bubble burst. For the most part, we have been able to turn those surpluses into a greater and greater liquid cash position as we have gone on. And like I said, that's due to the council's wise stewardship as well as the department heads, and we're in a very healthy shape. We're in our low period as far as the financial cycle and the way it goes. We have a lot of cash, liquid. If you look at those bank statements as they come in to you in the packets as they're uploaded, you'll notice some pretty high numbers in the November, December, January, February, March, April, May time frame. And during the rest of the year, like right now, we're dipping down pretty low. We're at about 180. But steadily towards the end of the year, we will build that back up. And it will hit what we're projecting is somewhere over $300,000.
Good. That's been a trend for years.
Right.
Why is that?
That's when your tax money comes in. That's when they start
That's
paying.
correct. Property taxes. That's right.
Property, bonus, all that.
So that's not Christmas time.
Right. And insurance, we get our, a lot of it franchise fees when they come in. That'll be towards the winter, spring time frame, and those checks will be bumping up as well.
Well, I won't do that. I ain't gonna say that. I'm just gonna leave it alone.
Well,
You might have knew what I was gonna say, Jonathan, but I'm gonna leave it alone.
well, yeah, I mean, it got later and later when I had that conversation with the department heads, towards the middle of the summer, then the end of the summer, then finally we were able to break it all the way through. But there were times, where we really did have to watch it. I mean, I would ask Ms. Paula, what's the bank account? We did that on just about a 1 or 2 day basis. Where is it at? What checks can we cut? We never went, beyond the acceptable period of time to pay a vendor. But I mean, we took it all the way out till the end on some of it.
That's a question I have. We only write checks a about 1 week a month, right? After the council votes on paying the bills.
No, we're pretty much cutting checks every week. We're pretty much cutting checks every week. Now, y'all will get the disbursement report that will have a compilation of all the checks cut since the previous disbursement report. But for the most part, you know, because we get bills in every week, we're rolling them out, we're paying them.
I just wonder why we vote on it if they're already paid.
Well,
My question.
I've never understood that.
that's a philosophical debate.
Yes. Or checks been cut.
What we're gonna do is say, no, we're not paying bills,
Right.
you know?
But, you know,
That, the answer I received when I asked that question was, that's just the way it's always been done. So you know, that's,
And I think maybe it's got a lot to do with all the council, mayor and council being able to see what all has been paid out.
right.
It's not an authorization to pay, it's just the council know what we pay, basically.
The overseeing of things.
And there is that oversight, and that's absolutely important. Now, approving the oversight or approving, I guess maybe it's in the language of the motion, approve to pay the bills versus approve the expenditures that happen.
Right, I think we ought to make that change.
That's totally up to y'all.
So we have to
It's not.
approve it before?
No,
Oh,
we don't, no.
That's the semantics of it, is all.
Yeah.
Yes, if we voted not to pay the bills, it's already paid, so it wouldn't make a difference anyway.
And I mean, I know that there haven't been many questions on the bills, you know, in months past, but know that time is there, and of course, any time,
Next month?
questions.
Well, that question came up,
You always have
a
that
few days ago with a couple of people, and they asked me about that.
Why you approve the bills?
Right, why they
Oh,
pay
yeah.
the bills, we only pay bills
Yeah,
once
that's
a
what
month.
we roll on.
And I know, because I get the disbursement reports, I see what they're paying.
We're cutting checks all
But we need to change the nomenclature that,
It's just a matter of putting it in motion.
just,
So, our rainy day fund, now this is not our liquid cash, this is our cash that is in our CDs. And our certificates of deposit, again, this has been a philosophical standpoint of previous councils. We have not seen fit, and we have continued that historical trend, not to put our savings into investment. There are some out there like the Georgia One Fund and others that other municipalities do take advantage of. We have taken a more conservative approach, probably one of the most conservative approaches you can take, and put them into CDs. Now, a CD is always going to be there. You know it's there. It may not earn very much, but it's going to be there. And you know, we have $500,000 that's there. This was just bumped up a couple of years ago, and $250,000 additional was put in. So now the operating days, we've pushed it out to about 4 months.
for a city this size, per state, pretty much is that.
That's pretty good.
Should be about 1.5 million
Um,
for a city of this size.
That'd be a year's operating.
Right. is what they-
Now, so we've got that in CD.
Correct.
We got it in CDs.
Yes.
How often do we utilize it?
We don't. We leave it there.
You would think we maybe, you know, I just know what a lot of funds are doing these days. And gosh, there's some funds out there that in the last 4 years have been earning 18 to 24%.
I bring that up because I know other municipalities do it.
Not all of it. I'm saying
Right.
if we were to take a portion of it even and maybe look into the possibility of finding somebody who is shown success and can show us, we can have some people come in and show us some products they have. Because God, I hate, you know, $250,000 at 1% as compared to even 15%.
I think it's been like 0.5%.
Yeah, 0.5% as compared to
Yeah.
15%.
Yeah.
The only
That's
problem-
a low fund these days.
The only problem with some of those funds, if you have, you sign up for a certain period of time, and if you do an early withdrawal, man, they can't even,
Well, I mean, you can put it in Georgia Power stock and earn 5% on dividends.
Southern Company.
Something, and make you pay 5% on dividends.
Well, we can investigate that. We can bring more information to the council, and in fact, that was just a question on the city manager's listserv about what other cities are doing in terms of investments, investment portfolios, and
You can invest up to $300,000 at a time in Southern counties.
well, we can get that information for
Well,
you.
one thing is that should be about $1.5 million for our size city, for the state standards. It should.
Well, we could make it that way if we could earn a little bit more on it. Compound interest is,
Which,
Unless
you
you
got to
start
start $500,000.
having, unless you start having years like it started having in 08, 09.
Yeah, and that's going to occur. It's going to occur.
And I know
You
a
got-
lot of people have lost a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
and historically, I mean, I know, and this of course was not when I was there, I think, there are folks that have said that it was built up to quite a bit in certain days, but,
That would have been before, way back. And this is about the most
really,
we've ever had. For us to be able to put 250 back, what was that, about 2 years ago?
right, it was.
Yeah, that was.
It's a good treasury bond.
Well, we had a lot more than that before approaching the bonds.
Bond fund.
There was
6%.
some that was cash to build the fire department.
Yeah, we had about 700 and some thousand.
Nah.
What? Yeah.
But at any rate, that's growing, and of course surplus has helped to contribute to that as well, so that is there. But I can find out more information.
My suggestion is that you could take half of that and put it into something that's not aggressive. That's, I mean, again, you get a good bond fund is 6%, and that's in bad times, okay.